This is Cromar with TGN, welcoming you to another World of Warcraft Cataclysm beta video. This is DPS Rundown Part 7 of a 22-part series, and today we're looking at the Balance Druid. So let's take a look at some of our talent choices. Most of the talents are pretty obvious, but there's a lot of regular DPS talents, but also a couple of leftover points. I went ahead and put them in Solar Beam for the occasional Interrupt, and Gale Winds for the occasional AoE. Now it might be nice to put a second point in Gale Winds, but it's not really necessary. Plus, there's nothing you can take it out of. Over in Restoration, Heart of the Wild gives you extra intellect, which of course in this expansion gives you extra spell power as well. And then Natural Shapeshifter is required for Master Shapeshifter, which just gives you extra spell damage, so of course you're going to take that. And lastly, the Blessing of the Grove gives you a very small bonus to your Moonfire. You very well could take that point out and put it in Gale Winds if you prefer. Glyphs are a fairly easy decision. The first one is very obvious, increases the damage of your insect swarm by 30%, increases the damage of your Moonfire, and of course we have Wrath, gives 10% increased damage to Wrath since we'll have insect swarm up at all times. The other options for balance, really there's not a lot. There's one big one, which is Starfire. Your Starfire ability increases the duration of your Moonfire effect. This does give you a little bit of extra uptime to your Moonfire, but it's just that none of these glyphs are replaceable by this one. Then we have Starsurge, which is interesting, but you just don't use Starsurge enough. You're only going to get 10 or 15 seconds off your Starfall. Well, more than that, but not enough to matter. Now, for major glyphs, surprisingly there's at least 2 that are useful, and that's more than most classes. Glyph of Starfall reduces the cooldown on Starfall by 30 seconds, sure. Now, Glyph of Innervate, well, you're mainly going to use Innervate yourself, so in those cases this won't take effect, but any good raiding druid should come prepared, knowing they might need to Innervate a healer. So this kind of goes along with that, and allows you to Innervate the healer and still gain some of your own mana as well. And then of course Glyph of Rebirth, also nice for bringing tanks back full. Minor glyphs are just crap, so take whatever you want. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your rotation. As you know, the new Lunar Solar Eclipse mechanic causes you to cast Wrath and Starfire to move the bar to the left and to the right. Now, Starfire moves to the right, Wrath moves to the left. Only problem is, in this build, you cannot move it to the left if your arrow is pointing to the right. What I mean is, see how this arrow is pointing to the right towards the sun? I'm going to cast some Wrath, but it's not going to move. How annoying is that? However, if I cast a Starfire, it does move, and if you cast a Starsurge, it always moves in the direction the arrow is pointing. So what that means is that you don't have a choice in what direction your bar goes, and that can be annoying after a raid wipe. If there's a trash or something that you can maybe beat up to set your bar where you want, that's one thing, but after a raid wipe, you come back to the boss, and you have to go the direction it tells you. It's a little bit annoying, but hey, what are you going to do? Though it's probably optimal to start with Wrath, since it has higher DPS, you will just have to start with Starfire sometimes. For this rotation, let's just start with Starfire. Alright, my Starsurge is ready, everything looks ready, let's just see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and open up my trends, why not? Then I'm going to open up with Starsurge and start putting down my dots. Okay, instinctually hit a Wrath, but that's actually wrong. I need to make sure I don't do that in a real test. Now that I've Eclipsed, I get my bonus to nature spells. This does change Moonfire into Sunfire. If you see my old Balance video, you know that I couldn't test Sunfire at the time because it was bugged. But now you can see it. All it is a nature version of Moonfire. A little disappointing, but hey. It has a neat graphic though. So that you have the Nature Eclipse, refresh Sunfire and Insect Swarm and start spamming Wrath. You do the machine gun Wraths and it'll quickly move. When you get shooting stars, hit your instant Starsurge. My dots ran out, so I'm going to refresh them. Starsurge is almost up. It's up now. I got a shooting star at the same time coincidentally, so it was a little wasted there. Now, I got an Eclipse, so I'm going to refresh my Moonfire, refresh everything else, start working on Starfires. If you can use Starsurge while Eclipse is up, that's what you want to do, because Starsurge actually gains a bonus from either Eclipse. Of course, if it's up, it's still more damage than your main abilities, so you should use it regardless. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do one extra Starfire before I use Starsurge. Starsurge, Sunfire, Insect Swarm, and then Wrath Spam. So it's back and forth like that. The timing is a little difficult to get used to, but at least it's interesting. You have to actually think. So that's what the rotation looks like. I'm going to wait for this to drop off. I got a Starsurge proc while I'm sitting here. That's nice. Come on. Okay, there you go. Let me just clear out my Eclipse before I start, and so it won't throw off my numbers. I hate when it misses, or messes up your rotation. If it misses, it doesn't count towards Eclipse. If you're trying to time it, like if you're, oh, I just need one more Wrath, and it misses, it throws off your whole balance, so it's annoying. Definitely want to cap spell hit for that purpose. Insect Swarm on the tooltip says it moves the bar towards Lunar, but currently it does not. Probably bugged, but the tooltip is wrong now, so just a heads up.
I cannot cast that yet. That spell is not ready yet.
Okay, let's see those results. Okay, we wound up with 6988, not bad at all. About 7k DPS out of our spam here, and the way the dots worked, it wound up counting it right. I didn't see it tick down at all, so let's see that breakdown. Starfire is our surprisingly our #1 ability. In previous tests, it actually came up with Wrath instead. That's kind of curious. I'm not sure if that comes down to luck or what, but that's how it worked out for this test anyway. Starsurge, 13 hits, no crits. That speaks to the poor crit chance we have with shoddy 333 gear. Once you're decked out in Heroics, it'll be a lot better. Insect Swarm, Moonfire, and Sunfire are performing as expected. Vengeful Wisp, in case you're curious, is my trinket effect. I don't think it throws it off, because if I didn't have that trinket, I'd have some other DPS boosting trinket effect, and I presume they're balanced right now. So, that's how the numbers wound up. 7k is a pretty good estimate. I just went until I ran out of mana, including Innervate. Boomkin did have their mana usage and conservation improved a great deal recently, which shows because the last time I did Boomkin tests, I ran out much faster. So that's good. You do have to watch what you're doing because unfortunately your normal rotation is going to burn you out of mana pretty quick. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't use Starfall in that rotation. And the honest answer is I couldn't find a test dummy that is by itself to test it against a single target. Now we know it's going to do huge damage to AoE, but I want to see how much it actually contributes to a single target situation. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead and gone into an Arcane Eclipse. I'm going to hit Starfall all by itself, and then I'm going to go and see how much damage I did to the dummy. I'm going to put my Arcane Eclipse on, but for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to put the Earth and Moon on. And you can say that since you're not going to be able to use Starfall on every Arcane Eclipse, then the fact that I don't have Earth and Moon kind of balances it out. I know that's being kind of rough with the numbers, but it'll still give you an idea of what's going on. So here we go. I'm just going to hit Starfall. And it did run until the duration ran out, so I know I didn't run out too early because of wasted stars. So let's see what we did there. Just Starfall. Now, it says 5,700 listed DPS, but obviously we had targeted way too much stuff. So let's look at who we targeted. Raiders Training Dummy, we did 15,000 damage per cast. So let's just use that as our base number to see how much damage you do per cast. That's 15,000 once every minute. So all we have to do to figure out its DPS, well, the math is really simple, obviously. And that comes out to about 250 DPS. So surprisingly, that's actually pretty significant to a single target. This is naturally just more for AoEing ads, but since it is essentially a free spell every minute, you might as well throw it in there. There's no reason not to. Unless you're worried about pulling ads or something, don't do that. That's it for the Balance Druid. Thanks for watching. As always, please rate, please comment, and please subscribe.